Good afternoon. Hi everyone, and welcome to another CI Tools webinar. My name is Josh Osborne. I'm the product manager here at Central Innovation for the CI Tools, and this is our weekly webinar that we run to talk about stuff to do with the CI Tools. Sometimes we look at new tools, new features in existing tools. Sometimes we go through introductions of tools that maybe you haven't seen before, or we go over frequently asked questions that are coming in via the support desk. This week we are going to be looking at a couple of the sort of less known or less used tools that we have available, just to cover off what they can do and how you might be able to use them in your projects. So just to give you an idea of what's available there with some of the other tools that you maybe haven't used or only used a little bit or something. So we're going to look at those today. If you have any questions as we go through, just enter them in the chat panel or the questions panel, and I will check on those about midway through this to see if there's anything that I can answer as we are going. And the other thing is that we're going to be working in 27 today, ArchiCAD 27. So if you are using this version or ArchiCAD 26, pretty much everything that you see will be relevant to what you have there. If you're using an older version though, some things may look a little bit different. Alright, so as I said, we're going to look at some of the sort of less often used tools that are available as part of the CI Tools pack. What we're going to look at is we're going to look at the Transformer tool, the Annotate tool, the Metadata tool, which is here, and the Stairs tool, which is down at the bottom here. So we'll look at each of those, probably spend I'll show you what they do and then describe a little bit about how you can use them and that sort of thing, and then we'll move on to the next. But if you have questions about any of them, send those through, and when I check on them midway, I'll go back to anything that we need to. So let's start with the Metadata tool. So for select customers, which is probably most of you attending this one is actually not included with select at the moment. However, you can try out a trial version or you can get a subscription for it. So it is obtainable if you are interested in it. But essentially what this tool does is that it shows you metadata about things. That's where the name comes from. And so the way that it works is that you can select any elements in your ArchiCAD project and it will show you the associated metadata with those elements. So this is doing a very similar thing to if I were to select these walls and go into the settings, go down to classification and properties and look in here. This will show me a list of my properties as well as the classification. Essentially, the metadata tool is just doing the same thing as that. It's just showing it in a floating palette that changes immediately on selection as you move around. That's a wall covering, so I don't have any. It changes as you move around when you select different elements, so you don't need to pop into different dialogues to do things and that sort of thing. The other way that you can get to properties and classifications is from here, which is a little bit quicker, but the metadata tool is a little bit quicker than that again, which is very nice, but it also has a bunch of additional functions to make it particularly useful, especially for when you are checking the metadata in your project. So one of the things that you'll probably want to do at various points during the life cycle of your project is to go in and excuse me, to go in and check that all of your modeled elements have the metadata on them that they should do, so that they have been filled in with any metadata at all would be the first thing to check, and then the second thing would be to check whether the metadata they are filled in with is actually correct or not. And the metadata tool can be very helpful for this because it means that it's just floating in your ArchiCAD window, so you can easily navigate around your project, find the bits that you want to check and easily see the information right away. It's not going to make you wait on going into dialogues and that sort of thing. So I can go in 3D and I can select my column here and I can see the metadata associated with that. And now that I have it selected, I can then use the selection to do different things as well. So you can see at the moment I have a column selected. We don't actually have any metadata set at the moment, but you can see down at the bottom we have classification selected. It's showing me the classification as column. If I select this button here, and then press this button here, so it's a kind of a selection button, what it will do is it will go through and select everything else currently visible which corresponds to the thing I had selected. So in this case, everything else in the project that has the classification column. So that makes it nice and easy to select all of those. If you have elements that are different element types but are the same classification, this makes it much easier to select all of those in one go. So in cases where you can't just select the column tool and go Command A to select them all, you can do it quite easily using this by selecting everything classified as a column. And this will apply to any classifications as well. Beams will work the same way, so we can select those. And walls and slabs and all of the others will work that way as well. Okay, just wait for I get to catch up there. All right. So the next thing that we can do, following on from that, is that we can do the same sort of thing but with properties as well. So you can see with a couple of the windows up here, I have the product info and manufacturer filled in here. So you can see Vantage is set as the manufacturer at the moment, and there's a couple of them that are set like that, a couple of them that aren't. So what I can do here is I can actually go in and say, I want to select every window where the manufacturer is set to be Vantage. So I can just select Vantage there, click the button, and it will go through, again clicking this selection button, it'll go through and select everything where that is matching Vantage, which it looks like is on most of them apart from these larger doors down at the bottom here. So this gives us a visual representation of what all of them are. We can see how many we have selected, and we can also easily spot the fact that we have a couple of windows and doors here that haven't been classified as being Vantage. So you can see at the moment we are showing Vantage here. If I add this to my selection, you will see that the manufacturer field changes from showing us what's in it to a drop-down arrow, and that will show us now that there are 14 elements where the manufacturer is set to Vantage and 1 element where the manufacturer is set to undefined. And we can change this on the fly now as well. So we can say, well, this one, that was clearly a mistake. Obviously, this one should be included. So we can just go through and set that to be the same. And now we see manufacturer drops back up to the top because everything selected is matching manufacturer. But you'll see the same thing going on with all of these manufacturer fields here. So 14 of them are 2020, 1 of them is undefined, 14 is New Zealand, and 14 has the website for it. And this will apply with any elements that we do this with as well. So it makes it quite easy to go through and find what things are missing. And you can also go the other way as well. So we could select our entire model here. So every element in our model is selected. You can see that we have a lot of different things here. So all of that blue is showing up this, showing us that there's different fields for a lot of parts of this. And what we can do is we can go in and narrow that down. Go selecting all. Okay, I'm not quite sure what I've done there, sorry. I have derailed myself, unfortunately. So what I was trying to show is when we have a multiple selection, we can go back down the other way. So you can see we have 15 elements selected at the moment. 14 of them, the manufacturer is set to Vantage. 1 of them it isn't. We can go in here and we can say, select the Vantage ones, so there's 14 of them. Rather than pressing the select button, which will select all of them, we can press the filter button, which will drop that selection. Okay, my apologies. I don't know why that's not working. Okay, I'm not sure what I've done there, so I can't show you the filtering thing at the moment, but essentially it works the opposite way to the selection thing. So when you have a selection of multiple items, it will let you basically deselect some of the items so that you can narrow down the specific set of properties that you want to look for. The other thing that you can do with the metadata tool is that you can create a sort of a shopping basket of properties that you want to apply to multiple elements. So we can select this beam here. We can import the settings of the beam. So we can see beam overhang is set to 100, span length, that sort of thing is set here. What we can do now is we can deselect the beam, and because we're not in live edit mode anymore, we still have all of our things in here. We can go through and we can sort of create a temporary set of properties that we want to apply to everything. So let's say we want to make the combustible value be true. And then we can go through and we can select a bunch of elements here and we can inject those properties into those elements. So I've got these selected. I can press the inject button. And now if I go back into live edit mode, I can go and select those elements and you'll see combustible is true on those now. So we didn't have to go through and manually specify those or have just beams selected and change that value there. We can create this sort of temporary set of properties that we want to apply across a lot of elements, select all of those elements and inject it into them, and it essentially won't touch the rest of the properties. It'll only touch the one that we inject into them. So that can be a nice handy way of, if you sort of build up a list of properties that you want to apply, maybe it's in a certain section of the model and you want to get it somewhere else because it hasn't been filled in somewhere, that's a nice easy way of doing that. All right, we'll look at the transformer tool next, and then I'll quickly check and see if we've got any questions. So the transformer tool just does one thing and one thing only, and that is that it mirrors your entire project. So this will be very quick and easy to demonstrate to you. I go to the transformer tool, I choose the mirror project button, and then I get two options. So the first is to click to place the point at which we want to mirror the project. So I'll go here. And then the second option we get is, do we want to mirror it horizontally or vertically? So you get that by moving your mouse away from the point that you clicked at, either up or to the side. I'm going to go, I'll mirror it in the vertical axis. So it's going to, I'm showing you with my hand right now, but it's going to bring this side over to here effectively. So I click to do that, and then essentially the tool will go through the entire project and mirror every single element, including the attached 2D data and that sort of thing. You can see it's going through the interior elevations at the moment. And it's just going to do all of the work of doing that for us. It takes, depending on the size of your project, it takes about 20 to 30 seconds for it to do it. And it will just do the entire process for you. So you can see it's mirrored everything. All of our dimension chains are still intact. All of our markers are still intact. All of that sort of thing. If we go to some sections, you will, well, I didn't show you this beforehand, but these have been moved as well. So the labels still point to what they were pointing at before. The detail elements stay where they should be. The markers stay where they should be, and that sort of thing. So it's just doing the thing that you would do yourself manually if you wanted to mirror an entire project. It's just doing it. It's doing it for you, so that instead of spending an hour or so mirroring everything in 3D and then 2D and then all of your other views, it just does all of that part for you. So it's not doing anything you couldn't do yourself. It's just doing it automatically instead. All right, let me just quickly check if we've got any questions, and then we can move on. Okay, cool. So yeah, so we got a request to cover off the select functions to do with assemblies and components. Definitely, I can show that during the next session. That will be a good one, and it actually relates quite nicely to something else that we're working on, which you will hear more about as we get closer to it. But yes, we will have a look at that, and I'll show you how assemblies and components work. At the moment, the main method, main reason to use that is to do with the healthcare library that we have. So I'll show you it in that context so that you can see what it is and why you might want to use that. All right. Someone else is saying that the webinar seems to have cut out. It says it's working on my end, so I can only assume that it is still working somehow. Hopefully it is. If not, you won't be hearing me say this anyway, so it probably doesn't matter. So the next two things that I wanted to look at were the Steer tool and what was the other thing I said? Annotate tool. So I'll start with the Annotate tool. So what this does is it does, similarly to the Mirror tool, it does one thing and one thing only. It's a thing that you probably won't need to do particularly often as well. But essentially what it will do is it will allow you to convert the case of your text. So as you may know, if you've used a word processor, which is everyone basically, sometimes you'll accidentally type in like an entire sentence with caps lock on and you didn't mean to, or sometimes you will paste down a bunch of text that you've written out or copied and pasted from somewhere else, and you realize that it's not in capitals, but you want it to be, or something like that. This tool essentially just does the job of doing that one thing for you. So it will go through and change the text case on the text in your project for those times every once in a while where you need to be able to do that. So to use it, just go to CI Tools, Annotate, and choose the Convert Case option here. And at the very basic level, you just open this dialog, choose what you want to do, and hit OK, and it will just go through all of the text in, well, we'll look at where it can be in, but all of the text here, and make it uppercase in our case. We can go back in, and we can go back to Convert Case, change it all to lowercase, and it will do that. Or we can go back in and change it all to sentence case, and it will do that. So we'll put capitals at the beginning and the rest lowercase and that sort of thing. So that will do that job for you. Nice and simple, not much settings that you need to worry about. It will just do it. There are some additional settings to it that we can use if we need to though. So let's say that we're going to convert back to uppercase again here. So the first thing you can see we have an option for is to observe case exceptions. So we can set up a bunch of exceptions to what should be converted. So I don't have many in here, but I'll make up a new one. So I'll say that we want to have a new rule that if the word air is in there, you shouldn't convert the case. So if air appears anywhere, don't touch it. So we'll hit OK and OK here, and you can see it makes everything uppercase except for the word air, which it leaves at the case, which I told it to in the exception. So you can use exceptions to deal with that sort of thing. It can be useful for if you have specific product names that should always be capitalized or always be lowercase or something like that. And as you can see, it's also good for things like if you're putting in an X between numbers to show dimensions and that sort of thing, to make sure that doesn't do anything silly. So that's exceptions. We've also got the option to choose the scope. So text in the current drawing is what we're looking at right here. So it'll just convert what we're looking at, but it can go through all of your floor plan views, all of the drawings in your entire project, or if you have some text selected, to only run it on the selected text items. So if you have a specific handful of text boxes that you want to run the conversion on, you can do that as well. Just select them first. And the further options are just a bit more sort of advanced ones that you may need in some cases. So we can choose to affect the string properties and parameters in objects that you might have placed, so it will work on those. You can choose to ignore hidden items, locked items, or items on locked layers. And we can also show a notification if things are changed when they're on an associative label, because as you know, associative labels have their data written to them by the thing they're associated with. This will affect those. So if you turn on the notification for this, it'll let you know if you've run a conversion on something where it kind of can't do that. So that is the Annotate tool for doing your conversions. So if we go lowercase now, you can see it will do that. And again, air is still that way. So again, not something that you'll use very often probably, but will be very handy for the once or twice where you do need to use that. So that's under CI Tools, Annotate. The last thing I wanted to look at was the Steer tool. So just a little bit of history before we start on that. So the Steer tool has been around for quite a while. As you may remember, about in the region of 6-ish years ago, ArchiCAD itself quite majorly upgraded their Steer tool, and so it does a lot of what you might want to be able to do with steers now, and it does most of what our Steer tool was able to as well. So for most people, using the ArchiCAD Steer tool is probably the best option. However, we do have some people who are used to using our Steer tool and prefer to use it that way, just so that they don't have to learn how to use the ArchiCAD one or something like that. And so our Steer tool is still available. There's also some instances where it will allow you to draw up a steer just a bit more quickly and with less worrying about details, because it doesn't go to as fine a detail level as the ArchiCAD Steer tool. That this might still be useful just to very quickly draw up something. Maybe you only want to have a small amount of detail in there, or maybe you're going to come back later and replace it with a real ArchiCAD Steer. This can be a good way of doing that. So I'll just show you how that works briefly. So the way that you access it is via the Polysteer tool here. If you're using the CO Tools work environment, it will be showing down at the bottom here. And we just select the tool here, and then we select what kind of steer we want. So we've got options for the solid steer, the floating steer, and the stringer steer. So we can choose the type of steer that we want, hit OK, and then we just draw out the steer. So click to start, we choose the direction that we want to go in, and you can see this pet palette here is showing us how we're going to construct it. So the first set of buttons is to control if it is straight or curved, and the second set of buttons is to control if it is a flight or a landing. So we can go straight across here with a flight. We can change to a landing. Let's go across there and then around the corner, and then let's change to a flight again and finish off there by double clicking at the last point, and that will just draw our steer for us. So it's just a very sort of quick and easy way of drawing a pretty basic steer. So you can see it goes up, it has the landing, it goes up again. That's about all there is to it. So this is where where you might find the tool useful, is if you just want to draw up something quickly and essentially have it get out of your way once you're done. This can be a good way of doing that. If you jump into the settings, you can control a lot of what we're seeing here. So as you can see here, we've got dimensions for all of the treads and risers, the way that they work, whether there's one at the top, if they're vertical or angled, or there aren't any risers at all. You can set the surfaces and attributes. You can choose the way that the stringers work. In this case, because we're using the steer on stringers, we can see an overview of what the flights are, and then we can control the floor plan display as well. So you can see we are looking at having a broken line display here, which is what you are seeing here. But we can adjust that as well, so we can move that to wherever it is that you would want that broken line to show and that sort of thing. And you can see that we're also numbering the stairs as we go up, and we're showing a directional arrow as well, and that's all controlled in here too. So the floor plan symbol is allowing us to set all of these things. They're set in the model view options at the moment, but we can choose to override those to whatever we like, or we can go into the model view options and specify them there. So if we go to CI Stairs, you can choose all of those settings in here as well, so that you can just have all of the stairs in your view controlled by this setting here. But yeah, just a nice and quick way of drawing up a stair. And then if you want to add railings to it, you can do that just by going to CI Tools, Stairs, Place Railings. Choose the type of railing that you want. We have 4 options here. We've got just a handrail. We have horizontal rails, we have panel railing, and we have timber railing. So we can go and select what we want. Let's just go with the horizontal rail for this one. We hit OK, and then with the stair selected, we click on the side that we want the railing to be on. So we can put it on the left, the right, or if we click inside the stair, it'll put it on both sides. So I'll just do that. And now if we view that in 3D, you can see what we've got. So we have our stair in the shape that we gave it before, and then our railing going up, matching the stair there. And we can adjust the settings of the railing as well in a similar way as you might expect from the stair itself. So you can choose the way that it goes around corners, where it extends and that sort of thing, where the position of it is on the stair itself, how the handrail works, if there's end extensions, how you want the brackets to work. Just all of that sort of thing that you might expect to be there in the settings. And if you choose different railings, you will get matching options for those. So if I choose the panel railing, you'll see that we get similar options here. So our handrail, end extensions, newels is an option in here. Obviously that wasn't an option for handrails, but we have them here. And then the balustrade, we can choose what the panels look like there. Timber railing will show us a more regular timber style railing, and it has newels, newel caps, and the various parts of that, and the same for the balusters. And horizontal rails will show us settings for the handrails, the newels, the balustrades, and in this case the balustrades are the horizontal rails. So you can control quite a lot of how those railings work, and and have those apply to your stairs quite nicely. But that is the CI Stairs tool. Again, as I said, in most cases, just using the ArchiCAD Stair tool probably gets what you want done. But if you want to get something done nice and quickly, or maybe you're already used to using this tool, in which case none of this is news to you anyway, this might be a good one to try out. And if you do try it out, or if you are a person who currently uses the Stair tool, I would also love to hear from you about that as well, because finding out how and what for people are using the Stair tool still is something that I would love to find out. But that's all I had for today. I'll quickly just check and see if we've got any further questions, and then we will finish up. Okay, looks like we don't have any further questions here. It looks like maybe the video feed is still having some sort of trouble. I'm still investigating some issues that we're having with the stream, so my apologies if that didn't work for you. I will try and make sure that the recording does have that, so that you can check that out later if you want to. But thanks for your time, everyone. Thanks for attending, and I will catch you at the next one.